Welcome to our YouTube video today, and welcome to our home. We live here in southeast Michigan. We're going to do a couple things today. I understand Rene has some questions for me. I've got one for him. And we're just going to practice one of these clay pigeons here. You can see the indentation here in the back, and they've got some sort of explosive in there. I bought a case of them. So I thought what we'd do real quick is just shoot them with 4 calibers, a 17, a 22, a 25, and a 357, and see just how explosive they are and whether we want to use them again in future shows. So this first shot will be a 17 caliber. We're actually using Rene's Black Ops sniper rifle. Well, I think we put a hole through it, but not a lot of explosiveness. Let's try another gun.
Russ, we want to see explosion, right?
Well, at least in this test we do. This looks like the same gun. It's not. It's a Black Ops sniper break barrel. It's in 22 caliber. I'm not sure what happened there either. I think there's a hole in the center of it.
It's all a little bit smoke, so...
Yeah. I think these first two are just putting holes in them, but not causing them to explode. Let's step it up to a 22, actually 25 caliber. That last was a 22. And this is the Hatson AT-4410 long. We'll see what it does to these explosive clay pigeons. Well, we at least broke it up.
There we go.
Did you see any explosion though?
Just a little bit smoke.
Okay. We'll try Hatson again, but this time in the 357. Again, I spent my money, and before you spend yours, so you'll know whether, with the caliber of air rifle you have, whether you want to be involved buying these or not. I'll shoot the last one on the right. Well, another hole in them, but not a lot of explosive. I'll let you all decide whether you want to buy them or not. We're going to go from here down to the fire pit, where I've got some questions. One for Rene, and I understand he's got a few for me. I'd like to introduce our viewers today to a good friend of mine, Rene.
Hello.
Who's visiting us from Germany.
Yes.
Rene, give us just a quick answer to what is guns, gun control, air guns, powder guns like in Europe?
Oh, thank you. Thank you for being here today. And the answer is, yeah, it's different. It's different like when you're here in the US. It's for example, not so easy to get an air gun. In Germany, go to a grocery shop and buy an air gun, or buy it online or something. I never have seen this. So it's different. I like it here more because you can get an air gun, simple, and you do your target practicing.
Okay.
But I'm actually today here in order to ask you questions.
Okay.
Let's start with the first question, because as far as I know, you hit 25,000 viewers, so, and they have a lot of questions so far. And the first question is actually, Dr. Russ, at the beginning of all of your videos you listed 3 concerns. One is government intervention. What are you concerned about?
Well, I would hate to see America get as tough on air guns as and real guns as Europe has gotten on that same subject. I would hate to see America get as tough on air guns as we are already tough on powder guns. And yet, I think that there's very real reason for that concern. Let me tell you why. The moment we have some kid walk into a school and start shooting up his fellow students with an air gun and potentially killing them, then we've got, our days are numbered in the airgun industry to enjoy the freedoms that we enjoy today. There seems to be a race among our manufacturers to come out with semi-automatic and full auto air guns. Hatson has just come out with their Blitz, and their Blitz is a full auto and a semi-auto, your choice. And the calibers go all the way up. I think you can get it in a 45 caliber. So that's a concern to me. And all we are is just one big problem and one big shootout, and we've got problems in our industry.
Okay. Yeah, I have another question. How long you have been shooting air guns in particular?
That's the one question I knew you were going to ask.
Of course.
So I brought a partial answer. Before I get to this part of the answer, we enjoy living here in the Detroit area. This is the only city in the entire United States where you actually have to go south to get into Canada. Not north, but south. There's many other places in Michigan you go north, but here we go south. I was born in El Paso, Texas, and that was another border, and Mexico was south of us. And I spent my first 8-9 years there. I remember a couple of Daisy lever action BB guns. I remember a Daisy pump, and oh, I love that. It was more powerful than the lever actions. I think my third or fourth air gun was this one right here. It requires an air conditioning refill bottle right here.
Wow.
As its air supply.
Okay.
And you would fill this air gun with BBs that had been in a mason jar with a whole tube of graphite put in, a slippery powder that acts like oil. And we'd shake it up and pour it into this gun. And that graphite helped those BBs go out very quickly. Now you could see the path of those BBs on full auto. It's the only way this gun shot was full auto. I love this gun. I've kept it all these years just as for its the memories that it had. But it certainly didn't have the power that we see today with these new guns coming out, and that's why I have that concern. But I can appreciate everybody's desire to own the most powerful, most automatic air guns they possibly can have.
Wow, that's very interesting. I like the 50 years old air gun. I never seen this before. Let me ask you another question, Dr. Russ. Your YouTube videos are also open with another one of your goals posted at the beginning. What is exactly your definition about backyard friendly?
Backyard friendly. Well, I think the first most meaningful definition of backyard friendly is probably what your neighbors think of you to begin with. Not just air guns, just what do they think of you. Mm-hmm. If you've got problems with neighbors now, you're going to have real problems the moment you start shooting an air gun in your backyard. So you might want to work on having good relationships with neighbors. For example, when we have a snowstorm here, I'll go out with my snowblower and I'll often do the driveways of 2 or 3, maybe even 4 neighbors, and all of that helps me maintain a good relationship. So just having a good relationship is part of the answer. Mm-hmm. Another part of the answer is how quiet the gun is. And it's quite easy today to get 17 caliber, 22 and 25 calibers with built-in modulators. So now you're just down to the cost of the gun and not some big silencer on the end of it. Those guns stay reasonably quiet, probably quiet enough that a neighbor can't hear. But I think once we go beyond the 25 caliber, we get into 30, 357, 45, even 50 caliber. We need these modulators that can cost $350 to go on the end of them. And now we have a $1,000 investment in an air gun, and it still, I think, is noisy enough to have a problem with backyard friendly. Those large bore calibers are probably best used in the field where you don't want to shake up all the animals, so you're trying to keep the gun as quiet as you can. But those big calibers are still quite noisy. it's very important. If you don't accomplish a backyard-friendly environment, then you're not going to be able to shoot 365 days a year, and be restricted to just hunting seasons. It might be only in the fall. So it's very important. I think another piece of it is not just have a quiet rifle, but let's make sure that background, that target area is safe. That we don't have bricks and rocks where the pellets and BBs bounce over into the neighbor's yard. Let's have something that can absorb these ammos that we have in the air guns and stop them right there.
Wow. I think now everybody wants to have Dr. Russ as a neighbor, right?
It helps.
The word safety is very important. It's one of your other openings. When do you consider gun handling as unsafe?
Yeah, we talked about government intervention. We talked about backyard friendly. Safety is huge. The last thing that we want is an ambulance in your driveway hauling off to the hospital, and everybody knows what happened. You shot yourself, you shot a family member or something, and all because you weren't safe. I think that we should have some, well, I can tell you, I have some safety rules only because I've actually experienced them in the field. So you want to be careful in this regard. Let me give you some examples. You want to have a good set of targets when you get to the range, so you're not borrowing from everybody. And you want to have the right ammo so that you can either practice with just the ammo that's right for your gun, or you're showing up at the range with different ammos to find the right ammo for your gun. It probably falls into the best practice area rather than a rule, but it sure does help you enjoy your experience and those around you enjoy it as much. On safety, I think showing up with on a hunt with flashlights and all the proper gear, a good cushion seat, so that when you start off early in the morning you can find your blind, or at night you can find back to the camp because you've got a flashlight with you. Invariably find somebody show up without a flashlight or a good seat. That leads to the next thing. I see people show up for hunting, and we've come up with some areas where everybody can hunt well, and then the next thing you know is one of these people is walking through your target area because they got tired of being where they were supposed to. So if you're assigned an area, I think it's just safe to stay in that area. Be patient. That's what the rest are doing. Be patient. I know a friend who didn't really check the backstop area. He bought some property, and he invited us out, and we're there ready to shoot. We're getting the guns out. We'd been shooting for about 5 minutes, kind of enjoying his new property and the ability to shoot. We could see for a mile behind his house. Then all of a sudden, that comfort was broken because a train came through.
Oh my God.
And about 60 yards out, unbeknownst even to him, the buyer, he didn't know a track ran through his property. And here's this train with all these new cars on it going right alongside our target area. So knowing that target area when you shoot, you need to know there's an animal there you're after, but what's beyond it, so that we don't get ourselves in trouble. I haven't personally witnessed this, but I've had other hunters tell me that they've showed up and one of the members has been drinking. One is smoking marijuana. One is on drugs. Well, I haven't had that experience. I've had friends have that experience. So I think it's a safety issue that's out there that should be addressed, and make sure everybody knows we're not going to be doing that out here. Be sure when you shoot, don't shoot where there's some rock or an iron structure, because we can hit something and those pellets or BBs come back. And they're coming back almost as fast as they went downrange, so you want to be careful there. Under best practices, you want to make sure you show up with your gun, unless it's a target range, but if we're showing up for hunting, that your gun is already sighted in, that you've spent that time. I've seen somebody show up with some reflective thumbtacks, and as they went through the woods, they they put those tacks in the trees, and then they put it on the backside when they came back out so they could find their way. Just with a flick of a flashlight,
Smart.
they could see that trail which took them to their blind, and they could see the trail that came back. Always show up if you're hunting with the hunting license that are needed. Air guns in certain areas with certain animals require a hunting license. Make sure you know those hunting rules and that you've taken advantage of that. So I think those are just some of the flashlights. I've seen people checking out their gun, wanting to make sure it's not loaded, but point the gun right at you, and others in the cabin or the campfire, and they don't have a clue. So I think gun safety is also something that requires multitasking.
That's true.
We're watching a couple of things at the same time. Well, those are the safety things that I think we all know. I think everybody knows about not aiming a gun at somebody inappropriately or at any time. Let me talk a little bit about the right best practice when you're doing videos. It's important that I share a couple of things with you. One is that we've got a comparison between the Bulldog 357 caliber and the Bully 357 caliber. These are two very popular large bore guns. We're going to have a shootout between them, and I think you'll enjoy that in just a couple of weeks. We also have a battle of the 25 calibers. And it's of a number. In fact, I'm supposed to get one today that I ordered from Umarex. So a 25 caliber from Umarex is coming, and we'll shoot it out between these 25 calibers, hoping that you can see and want the right 25 caliber for yourself. That's coming in a few weeks, and the only way you're going to know the exact week that they're coming out is if you were a subscriber. So consider it. I know you think you're signing up for some new mortgage on your home or something, and you're not. All you're doing is subscribing that every other week on a Thursday you'll be notified. Real simple message, the next video's out. So consider subscribing and not missing those. Also consider giving us a thumbs up. Normally, I'm not big on you have to do the thumbs up, but I can tell you I've recently become a believer, because if you don't do this, Google's going to do that. And Google owns YouTube. And Google and YouTube have a complex algorithm. That's a fancy word for recipe to determine whose videos should show up on the right side margin or down below when you're checking out a video. And if you don't have their help and support, all of a sudden your numbers can go way down. I think we passed 25,000 last week, and we're adding about 2,000 viewers a week.
Wow.
So we're on the right track, but it's because of subscribers, it's because of thumbs up. And lastly, leave your comments. I love comments. That kind of helps us with the next show. What should we include? Where did we fail you in terms of explaining things? We would like to do that, and I personally enjoy those. But the number of comments that are left is part of that algorithm. Well, I think that wraps up our campfire questions for today. We'll do it again in 10 or 20 years. We'll do this.
21.
Until next time, stay airgun sharp.